tonight are on the broad road that leads to destruction. And tonight, I would say with Moses, I would say with Joshua, turn, repent, choose God, serve Him, live for Him. That is the message of God tonight to this great audience of people at Yankee Stadium.
I see revival coming to planet Earth, maybe as never before. It will be untold numbers, and untold, uncounted multitudes that will be saved. The dead will be raised. The arthritic will be healed. Cancer will be healed. No disease will be able to stand before God's people, and that it would be a worldwide situation.
There's a church that doesn't just know about God, they know God. They don't just believe in His power, they carry His power. God will shake the United States of America one last time, not by might, not by power, but by my Spirit.
If it goes right down.
Мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции. Ее цель – защита людей, которые на протяжении 8 лет подвергаются издевательствам, геноциду со стороны киевского режима. Призываю вас немедленно сложить оружие и идти домой. Поясню. Все военнослужащие украинской армии, которые выполнят это требование, смогут беспрепятственно покинуть зону боевых действий и вернуться к своим семьям. Кто бы ни пытался помешать нам, а тем более создать угрозы для нашей страны, для нашего народа, должны знать, что ответ России будет незамедлительным и приведет вас к таким последствиям, с которыми вы в своей истории еще никогда не сталкивались. Мы готовы к любому развитию событий.
Well, welcome to Pittsburgh. That's our friends over at Al Jazeera. I'm joined with my friend, Patrick Franz. I just needed a slight European accent to make our broadcast seem more intelligent. And I'm, of course, Jonathan Shuttlesworth, who in no way sounds intelligent. But I want to, this is live updates of the Russia-Ukraine war. Plus, we're going to get into, is an attack on Taiwan by China imminent? So I've been reading about this last night and then studying this morning. And then if you watched Check the News last night, we also got in, I talked to my friend. Are we on YouTube? Why not? Check the News AM. I want on YouTube. I guess I should have made that clear. Yeah, we're not doing any C-word stuff, so I think that this is safe. They can add this in to YouTube? All right, thanks. Let me get to why I believe Putin is making his moves. This is a video that Jesse Kelly did back in October. And before we get into anything, I want to tell you this. I'm an American, as you may have been able to ascertain. I love my country. I am not a propagandist. And after what happened in Afghanistan, where we sent a bunch of people over, like my friend Doug, who still has barely recovered. I mean, listening to the guy tell his story is like torture. But, you know, to his credit, it's hard to talk when you're hearing imaginary helicopters. To do what? What were we in Afghanistan for? What did all those people die for? People didn't come back, you know, forget people that came back with PTSD and disabilities. What about people that never came back? What about wives that their husband's gone and they don't have a kid? For what? My friend Doug that was in the military told me they weren't allowed to touch the poppy fields. So, you know, what were we doing in Afghanistan? Then our withdrawal from Afghanistan and leave the weapons. If you think I'm going to just blindly listen to whatever the New York Times and CNN and Biden says, that's why this has been difficult to navigate. And I'm not going to give you a ton of opinions. We're just going to show you what's out there and what's been verified. Because I have serious questions about our nation's military and our nation's administration. I think we've done it. You know, you say, why is Russia invading Ukraine? Why do we drone strike anybody we feel like in Pakistan? You know, those are people in a country. So I'm trying to look at things from both perspectives. I'm not going to be an American that just thinks Putin's an evil, rotten person because they told me to think that while I'm here. And then you can see it from a Russian perspective, where you see that the West is some sexually deranged, decadent nation. You know, I'm trying to see both sides of it. And then, of course, we view it in the light of Bible prophecy, which has a lot to say about Russia. And basically what you're seeing now is Ezekiel 38, 1-6 being played out. But in my opinion, why would Putin make his moves now? Well, if you're Putin, why wouldn't you make your moves now? Jesse Kelly does an excellent job on this, and you can keep me and Patrick on the side. Watch this video.
So you and I as Americans, we don't fully appreciate just how devastating it is to lose a military campaign. If it doesn't end your country, it lays you low for oftentimes decades and decades and decades. That's the reality of it. That's the truth. We are going to have a war against another major power. I know because history tells me we will. What are we doing to prepare for said war against this major power? Well, here's this new ad from the United States Army.
Pause. This is our military recruitment ad, by the way. This is not Cartoon Network at 1:30 in the morning. Watch this crap. Go ahead.
This is the story of a soldier who operates your nation's Patriot missile defense systems. It begins in California with a little girl raised by two moms.
Are you sure?
Although I had a fairly typical childhood, took ballet, played violin, I also marched for equality. I like to think I've been defending freedom from an early age.
I feel like I'm listening in the Russian army at this
handed
point.
So much in life. A sorority girl stereotype. Sure, I'd spent my life around inspiring women. But what had I really achieved on my own? I needed my own adventures, my own challenge. And after meeting with an army recruiter, I found it. A way to prove my inner strength and maybe shatter some stereotypes along the way.
He's a veteran, by the way.
We are in some serious trouble. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad that young girl and her moms, Trina and Pat or whatever they are, I'm glad she was protesting and marching. That's very inspiring, very exciting stuff. But you see, while we're doing things like that here in America, do you want to know what Russia's doing? You want to know what their recruiting ads look like? I want you to think about that video you just watched. Think about that insane video, right? I want you to keep it in the front of your mind. Now, one of our arch enemies on the world stage, you want to know what they're doing? Here's what they're doing.
Это первый день твоей новой жизни. То, что было вчера, не имеет значения. То, кем ты был прежде, уже никого не волнует. Теперь важно то, кем ты будешь сегодня. Что ты знаешь о себе? На что ты способен? Вопросы могут остаться без ответов, но разве ты сможешь потом спокойно спать? узнать себя, познать границы своих возможностей. К черту границы. Ты готов ломать себя до изнеможения каждый день.
At this point through the ad, if you see those two countries going to war, which one do you think is going to get their ass kicked? Continue.
Здесь боль закаляет. Шрамы, повседневность. Это ты решил себе что-то доказать. Командир здесь только для того, чтобы ты мог увидеть в нем врага. Потому что без врага нет боя, а без боя нет победы. Но на самом деле, главный враг — это ты. Вчерашний ты. Твоя задача — выследить врага, догнать его, превзойти, стать лучше, чем он, и вернуться назад победителем. Потому что завтра
Which one of those countries looks like they're interested in winning that next war that's coming?
For real.
I'm not just going to gloss over this. I'm not just going to forget about it. I love history. As you know, I talk to you about history a lot on the show. And if you study it and you find the nations that lose focus, you know, it's almost always the wealthy, powerful ones, right? The poor ones know they've got to scrap, but it's almost always the wealthy, powerful ones. Too many grapes, too many cakes, too much free time on their hands, too many distractions. And there's always this young, hungry one out there who doesn't have these distractions. And he looks at all those cakes and grapes and he wants them. And he starts to look around and say to himself, they're getting awfully soft. I bet I could go take that from them. That happens all the time. And what it looks like when they go to take that from them, it looks like death on a massive scale. That's what it looks like. This is not a small thing. This is a big thing. We don't need an army full of lesbians. We need an army full of killers. That's what we need. That's what you want your United States military to do. And that's what our opponents are doing. Remember that story that came out about China? They're figuring out how to make their men more masculine. We're figuring out how to cut ours off. Literally. This stuff ends nations. I cannot emphasize this enough. This stuff ends nations. And this will be the end of the United States of America if we don't stop these people. It's a really, really, really big deal. Hey, thanks so much for watching the first on YouTube. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and like and subscribe. You heard me. Like it, subscribe. You'll get a lot more of it and a lot more of me. Thanks.
All right. Good job, Jesse Kelly. So, again, this is not a pro-Russia broadcast, but it's not an America, it's not 1985 where, because I watched Rocky and Ivan Drago, I hate Russia. Russia is a country full of great people, and I would like to, probably the bulk of our viewers are American and European. Don't let propaganda make you hate people you've never met or hate a country because of the freaking 88 Winter Olympics or whatever. Russian people are great. I'm going to have a bunch of them in my meetings Friday in Jacksonville. And Russia, if you look at it from their perspective, they're seeing us with gay pride parades. Russia just released a pro-family flag. It's a mom and dad holding hands with children. They're actually going the other direction. So I'm not anti-America, but I'm not blindly for the destruction of Russia, I guess is what I'm saying. All right, so I'm going to start with this. I have a friend, we have Matea on at night because she has sources. I have no sources except one. I know a major Department of Defense military supplier and consultant. And he's been right in everything he's told me. He was not one of the people during COVID. In fact, when everybody was saying they're going to cut the power off, they're going to stop interstate travel, he would tell me that that's not going to happen. He knows what he's talking about. So I texted him. I hadn't talked to him since September. And I texted him last night. If you check the news last night, I read the text, but we kept in communication all last night. So I'm going to read our correspondence. I'm not giving his name, obviously. How does Russia-Ukraine play out? He wrote, I was just literally communicating with the head of the Ukrainian SBU, which is a Ukrainian military branch. Full-scale invasion about 48 to 72 hours away. I wrote, Zelensky flees and they take Ukraine pretty easily, or a fight? He wrote, fight. I wrote, who wins? He wrote, Russia. Putin just declared war and they launched a ballistic missile. Kyiv got hit. It's on right now, just started. Then he wrote, they're firing cruise missiles into Ukraine from Russia. Hundreds, if not thousands, of civilians will die in the next few weeks. I wrote, then he stops at Ukraine. He wrote 50-50, Poland and Belarus. Would either of those countries be enough to get NATO involved, or would they concede them both? He wrote, Poland would be enough to get NATO involved. We will have to fight as Great Britain are located in Poland. GBR, right? Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts? I'm interested in what you have to say. This has the potential to get infinitely worse and drag all of Europe into a war. Add China's attempt to move on Taiwan, and it could light a powder keg that starts World War III. Russian Marines are now on the ground in Odessa. I wrote, moving quick, where should you put money in the morning? He wrote, value stocks, WTM, and GHC. You've helped me a lot. Thank you. And he said, buy property in Cabo San Lucas. Then we continued. It's interesting. He said it's good to get money out of the USA. The U.S. stock market will go sideways for about 6 to 8 years. What do you think about that?
I mean, there'll always be ways to make money, but with everything that's happening now, this war has just escalated. What's the Fed going to do now? Are they still going to raise interest rates? So there's a lot of factors now that weren't involved back when the Fed should have acted last year to do something. Then because this just like exasperates that.
Do you feel the Biden administration is definitely pressuring the Fed to please put off raising interest rates? And then now they have this as a reason?
Yeah.
Me too. Real estate coupled with inflation, it safeguards all your assets. So he wrote, I actually believe that Putin is attempting to reestablish the USSR. So Belarus would be next. He wrote Belarus and Poland, then we'll see. Baltic states. I wrote, where is Turkey sitting in all this? You can put the map up while I'm talking. So most people, I saw on a map yesterday, most people, there's a few people that think Ukraine's in Kansas. Did you see the map of where Americans thought Ukraine is? Kansas, Alaska, South Florida, which I could understand why you'd think it's in South Florida. So there's Ukraine. There's Spain in the bottom left. There's Great Britain in the top left. So you understand, Ukraine was a buffer. Ukraine is where Europe turns to Russia. So it was a trouble spot because Putin, you have to look at things from both perspectives. If you're an American, would you be comfortable with Russia building stuff on the Mexican border? You know, that would be problematic. Well, that's what Putin has to deal with. When you have Europe and America coming into Ukraine right on his border, he doesn't like that. And then on the flip side, Europe doesn't like any intrusion of Russia into there because now there's no buffer. Now if he makes a move past that red country, Ukraine, now you're into Europe. And that hasn't played out well in the past. Where is Turkey sitting in all this? Wild card, borders Georgia. Turks hate the Russians. They could be the tipping point for all of NATO.
And they have a massive military.
Yes, they do. And not opposed to fighting. Not big on diplomacy.
No.
What else? I wrote, Ukraine was a sitting duck. He wrote, I wouldn't put it that way. I wrote, how would you put it so I don't misspeak? Ukraine was waving the NATO flag in Russia's face and Putin's face. So that was the thing, right? Ukraine was threatening to join NATO, which at that point you have the United States committed right at your border.
Yeah. And surrounded Russia, because you got bases all around. You got the Baltic states up there. Then you got Turkey, which is a member of NATO. Then you have bases in Pakistan. You got bases in Korea. You got bases in Japan. That's all like basically Russia is surrounded by American military bases.
Ukraine was waving the NATO flag. I'm just going to NATO. The NATO flag in Russia's face or Putin. It was just too much for Putin to take, coupled with a weak American president. I wrote, I see. Very weak. And General Miley, he wrote, don't start. Now, remember this. Why, if you're Putin, if you want to make this move, now's the time. You have United States generals posting videos. I'm talking male generals, men, posting videos, our leadership in the military, of them getting manicures and their fingernails painted. I mean, you're like asking to get taken over. And then you have the Russia, where they still actually have like actual men that lift weights. Don't start. He wrote, "Why are you interested in war? I find it interesting from a geopolitical basis, plus being a military professional. Russia and China are the real enemies of the West. Also, you can't blame this on religion." I wrote, "I care what happens in the world. I'm not a monk." Yeah, and I understand. Of course, I think I've run all those people off. Why don't you just preach the gospel? You know, I do preach the gospel quite a bit if you pay attention, but I am interested in what happens in the world. For example, it would be helpful to know not to book, maybe don't book a weekend revival in Kyiv this weekend. Might not be the best time. So it kind of helps to know what's going on in the world. And, you know, if you would like a ministry to follow where you would like more information on what's happening than let's pray for Ukraine, then we're your people. So I'm quoting here. "I wish you could," this is him, "I wish you could pray to take the evil away from our country, starting with that dumbass AOC." That's a quote. Sorry about the dumbass comment. She is just a liar on every level. The majority of people don't read, so sound bites matter. Oh, that's from way up. Sorry, it scrolled back up. Where am I? Militarily, Russia is not capable of being able to maintain a battle space force that far from home. It's a path that's not achievable unless they have middle allies like Syria and others. The Saudis and Israelis have formed a military partnership. So that's interesting because the allies that they need are the ones that Ezekiel said they're going to get.
Yeah.
All right, I just got a new text from him because I had written anything new back at 9:05. "Lots of chaos at this point. BDA unknown. Losses unknown, both sides." What's BDA unknown?
I'm not sure.
Anybody can help me that's military? "Need 3 days to figure out which way this is headed. However, can surely say the Russians are dominating this match." Well, that's not I mean, Zelensky's got no chance in Ukraine against Russia, right?
He's got some American weapons.
Thank you. Bomb damage assessment. Now, having said that, it looked like a full-scale invasion last night, but at the same time this morning,
it doesn't look like it. Just missile strikes.
Just missile strikes on targets. Because I was listening, you know the Stock Talk Weekly guy, did you listen to that space at all?
No,
They started covering it last night, and it's still the same space this morning. They've been on for 15 consecutive hours. At one point last night, they had 16,000 people listening.
Wow.
So I was listening to it, and they were doing live feeds from coverage, and they're cycling coverage. So like an interview from someone telling what happened, 15 minutes later, they replay the same interview, which shows you it's not breaking. Kyiv bomb. So it's like Putin is kind of getting into Ukraine a little bit and seeing what the reaction is, like a slow roll, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's do the next piece of media. Great reporting here. Breaking. M-Chant CNN with Russian forces at the Antonov airport about 15 miles outside of, I'm going to call it Kyiv. These troops, you can see over here, they are Russian airborne forces, and they've taken the airport. By the way, I know I'm playing CNN. Probably 101% of the people who watch me don't like CNN. I understand that, but Justin Hart is a guy we trust. So if he says great reporting, I'm going to play it. Play it.
Right in the middle of the fighting. Matthew, tell us what you're witnessing there.
Stop.
We may get...
Jim, we've come out of the centre of the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, and we are here at the Antonov airport, which is about 25 kilometres, 15 miles or so out of the centre. These troops you can see over here. Stand up, Lewis. These troops you can see over here, they are Russian airborne forces.
Did you ever tell his cameraman to stand up? He's taking cover behind the car. Hey, stand up, Lewis. Hey, you know what? I think I might go work at Wendy's. Continue.
They have taken this airport. They've allowed us to come in and be with them as they defend the perimeter of this air base here, where helicopter-borne troops, these troops, were landed in the early hours of this morning to take and to form an air bridge to allow for more troops to come in. You can see these are Russian forces. You can tell they're Russian. I've spoken to them already. You can tell they're Russian. They've got that orange and black band to identify them as Russian forces. I've spoken to the commander on the ground there within the past few minutes, and he said they are now in control of this airport. And within the past few seconds, just before you came to us, they were engaged in a firefight, presumably with the Ukrainian military, which says it is staging a counter-offensive to try and take back this airport. We can tell you now, I'm standing outside the...
Are they, though?
No.
They're not gonna, it seems like Ukraine's just bailing.
Yeah.
Anywhere Russia shows up.
Most of those weapons they got from the U.S., I guarantee you they got hit last night with those missile strikes. To take those caches of weapons out that got delivered, like the Javelin missiles and stuff.
Correct. And I'm gonna show everybody a map to show you what triggered Putin to do this. Didn't I send you guys an Alex Jones video of him calling this? Play that one next. I want to hear what he called in the fall was going to happen. Go ahead. October 21st.
But we're looking at a giant war in February right now.
Jeez,
currently, that's the projection.
You know, you cannot write him off as a kook.
He gets so much stuff right. It's crazy.
Play it, unbelievable. Play it from the beginning.
But we're looking at a giant war in February right now. Currently, that's the projections with the top people on the earth who claim they're not with the New World Order Combine. Is war in February. And this is the type of time, like right before World War I, right before World War II, when everything kicks off. And I hope that doesn't happen. But currently, that is the trajectory we're on. And there is a consensus on that.
Your thoughts?
That's crazy. So he has like inside information from Putin or somebody who's close to him, and that like those people, like the Belarusian president. He has to.
He would have to. I'm sure there's a lot of people that contact him that get blocked by traditional media, won't listen to him.
Yeah.
And you can't say he's like a plant to give misinformation. I mean, that's not misinformation.
No,
that's correct information. It was the mainstream media that was telling you that. Actually, you didn't know what to think. That's quite the call from October 2021. Next. NATO vows to defend its entire territory after Russia attack. How many slides? All right, let's read it. Brussels, one of the most beautiful jihadi-controlled cities in Europe. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg warned Thursday that the military alliance would defend every inch of its territory should Russia attack a member country, as he slammed Moscow for launching a brutal act of war on Ukraine. Russia launched a wide-ranging attack on its neighbor, hitting cities and bases with airstrikes or shelling. Ukraine's government said Russian tanks and troops rolled across the border and accused Moscow of unleashing a full-scale war. Speaking after chairing an emergency meeting of NATO envoys, Stoltenberg said the 30-nation security alliance will continue to beef up its defenses on its eastern flank near Ukraine and Russia. He said U.S. President Joe Biden and his NATO counterparts will hold an online summit on Friday. Russia has attacked Ukraine. This is a brutal act of war. I don't know about brutal at this point. That's inflammatory talk. Our thoughts are with the brave people of Ukraine. Well, I'm sure they're pleased to know that your thoughts are with them.
Yeah.
We're not going to be sending any help, but it's like when Biden said yesterday, all the prayers of the world are with the people of Ukraine. It's like, that's a sign we're not coming. Russia has attacked Ukraine. This is a brutal act of war. Our thoughts are with the brave people of Ukraine, Stoltenberg told reporters. Peace in our continent has been shattered. We now have war in Europe on a scale and of a type we thought belonged to history. Jeez, that seems a little harsh, right?
It is.
The last estimate I saw was 40 deaths, and they're targeted deaths. I have heard that Russia has a plan to take out Ukrainian officials who were for NATO and against Russia.
Yeah.
Continue. NATO is, I was going to NATO again. NATO is the strongest alliance in history. I don't know about that. What about He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, for one? NATO is the strongest alliance in history, and make no mistake, we will defend every ally against any attack and on every inch of NATO territory, he said at the Would you say NATO, how strong would you say NATO is right now?
They're stronger than Russia. If you take out the U.S., then they're nothing, except for Turkey. Turkey's the second strongest military in NATO.
So Turkey's in NATO.
Turkey's in NATO.
But thinking of bouncing out.
Yes, they've been on the fence.
They're iffy.
They are iffy.
Because what happened? Turkey made moves against other NATO member states, and then NATO called them to task on it?
The whole Syria issue when they invaded Syria.
I see. And they didn't like NATO getting in their way, so they're already ticked off.
Yeah.
And then Russia can exploit that and bring Turkey over with them, and the Bible says Turkey's going to unite with Russia.
Yeah.
During the meeting, Bulgaria, the Czech Republic, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Romania, and Slovakia triggered urgent consulations under Article 4 of NATO's founding Washington Treaty. These are launched when the territorial integrity, political independence, or security of any of the NATO parties is threatened. Stoltenberg said that NATO has decided to activate emergency planning to allow commanders to move forces more quickly. He spoke shortly after envoys to the Transatlantic Alliance agreed to further beef up its land, sea, and air forces on its eastern flank near Ukraine and Russia. Continue. We have decided, in line with our defensive planning, to protect all allies. All right, it's basically just going to be the same thing. So, so what's going to happen now is if Putin takes Ukraine, now you have Russia. There's no buffer between Russia and NATO. So now you're going to have this escalation where you have Russia putting stuff to defend their border, and then NATO, and then that's where things get dicey.
Yeah.
Because somebody fires a shot or a plane crosses into airspace, and now you got a problem.
That's it.
Next. We're sanctioning Russia, but completely missing the fact that they are supported by China. Explain that.
China is still no
Bankrolling.
sanctions, bankrolling, buying. They just said today that they're going to buy Russian wheat. So even if all Europe is relying on Russian and Ukrainian wheat for their bread, so food prices in Europe might go up because of all of this. But now China is going to buy that wheat, so it's no loss for Russia.
I see. So Russia knew this was going to happen. They already made plans, and it's fine.
Yeah.
Has that Twitter account that I told you guys to monitor and put on any breaking news, nothing's dropped during this time? Really? I'm looking. After investigating, the advisor... oh, yeah. Here, I'm going to... Play the one on the account I told you to monitor. Video of a dangerously close air-to-ground strike. Unclear of purpose or target. And then the ongoing fighting in the Kherson region. Play those two when you get a chance. Until then, next. Putin waited until the West was weakly led, low on patriotism and manhood, with a media obsessed over domestic trivialities and politicians with a penchant for waging war on their own citizens. Perfect timing. Well summed up.
Yep.
Next. It's true. If you're an American, as I am, how do you get upset at another country? They got no business in the Ukraine. We got no business in like 80 places. I'm with Peter Griffin on this one. By the way, we have a new T-shirt that anyone we feed. Believe it or not, we feed 1,500 children a day, among other things. So if you're watching and you're enjoying the coverage, if you want to make a donation, we have a brand new T-shirt just for today. Weekend at Biden's. And I know you want to wear it. So just put out the bottom of the screen how they can give real quick. Just taking a short pause. Okay, if you don't want to put it at the bottom of the screen, you can put the full slide. If you go to revivaltoday.com and click Give Now, that's the easiest way to do it. We feed 1,500 children in the poorest parts of the world every morning, and we're going to send you that T-shirt. And then you can give by Cash App and Venmo that you see there. So I'll give you a second to do that. Revivaltoday.com and click Give Now. And we thank you for helping us do what we do. All right, let's continue. Next. I'm so glad that the West gave up on energy independence because Greta Thunberg yelled at us. That's really looking like a smart move today. Thoughts?
Horrible. They need to get rid of legislation now so that Americans can increase their oil and gas production so that we can take care of America that way.
Explain to viewers that might not understand that. Why is energy independence so important, A? B, what is our energy independence situation like in America right now, and then how is it affected by this?
Energy independence in America, we are not 100% energy independent. So we get energy from the Middle East, we get energy from Russia. Last year, $18.12 billion worth from Russia. And oil and gas hasn't been sanctioned yet, and I don't know if they will. They're probably going to do some sort of sanction waivers because they're dependent on that oil and gas from Russia. So it would be better if they removed legislation, all these environmental protection, ESG stuff that they're coming out with, environmental social governance, so that they can ramp up domestic energy production and America can be independent. That way, if something like this happens, oil and gas prices aren't going to go up in the U.S., and U.S. can actually profit from it because if it's affecting other countries in Europe, they can sell their excess oil and gas to Europe.
So you think of this as a faraway war, which geographically it is, but when you take oil from your enemies and power and natural gas, then they have an end to your country because you can sanction them, but they can make gas go up. What could they, if they wanted to play hardball, almost to the point where you push us to having a war with you, what could they spike gas up per gallon in the U.S. if they wanted?
It could go up to $11, $12, $13 a gallon.
Wow, that's higher than I thought.
If they shut off.
If they got the Saudis on board with them, if they got Middle East with Russia, and that's where you get World War III.
Exactly.
And that's why, whatever your political affiliation is, look what she said, what Vera said, gas prices rose to this morning in Germany. Two euros a liter.
Per liter, so that's $8 a gallon.
Yo.
For regular gas. So if the Russians could choke off Europe by turning off the Nord Stream 1 pipeline and then have no gas flowing into Europe, and they would have to get their gas from ships from the Middle East because there's no pipelines. Ships from the Middle East and from the United States.
And then you're screwed two ways. And we don't have enough to supply Europe because they won't let us produce it.
No.
Our government won't let us produce any oil.
Exactly.
Let me ask you this. Obviously, we think they're very stupid people, the Biden administration. But from their standpoint, what was the purpose of not being... And it's not just with Biden. Like, starting back with Carter, what was the reason for us not to produce oil out of Texas and California? We don't need them.
Because it's not environmentally friendly. Let other countries produce the carbon so that we can say we're carbon neutral, but we're really not because we're importing from all those countries that are massive producers of that.
Where's India in all this?
India's always been sort of neutral.
Lurking?
Yeah.
You don't know.
Just waiting for their chance for China to mess up so they can invade China or something like that. But take back Pakistan, whatever. I don't think that they really stay kind of neutral in all of this because they buy arms from Russia and they buy arms from the United States.
Okay. Next. Video of dangerously close air-to-ground strike, unclear of purpose of target. Go ahead. I'd clear out. It's a high price to pay for some good Instagram stories. You know, the reason, like how Patrick and I said there's not much going on. I'm monitoring an account on Twitter that covers live on the ground, global military info, Venezuela, I mean, anything that's breaking. And that was the last thing that was posted 1 hour ago. You know, if there's a full-scale war, there's video all over, and none exists pretty much. And they're cycling the same clips on mainstream news. So I don't even know if you can call it a war at this point. It's an act of war, but it's like a few acts of war. It's not, because Ukraine's not engaging really, right?
No.
Next. And obviously in the comments, well, this is a live program, so if I'm missing anything, but you can't just make comments if you want it to be on air. It has to be, you need to tell me like where you're seeing what you're saying. We had a, there's somebody I know and they posted on Twitter a big blast in Ukraine, but then you look over, it's from like 2014 from a chemical plant. So you got to verify what you see. Fighting is ongoing in the Kherson region, and this is an even older clip. Roll it.
Сирупинский мост ведутся боевые действия. Все. Давай друг назад на том магазине.
Breaking, Ukrainian forces have destroyed 15 Russian tanks using U.S.-supplied FGM-148 Javelin rockets. Now, when I wrote that to my guy that texted me, he wrote, yeah, like when it said Ukrainian forces have destroyed 5 Russian planes, he wrote, yeah, right, decoys.
Yeah.
So you think the same with the tanks?
Oh, yeah.
Russia has 12,500 plus tanks.
And hypersonic missiles.
They were always big on tanks, right?
Yeah. They love tanks. They got these
like
missiles
a 5-year-old
that can reach Berlin from Moscow in 7 minutes. So there's not even like enough time to
Would you say,
take cover.
Is it outside the realm of possibility that if this went full bore, Germany kind of has divided loyalties, correct? Explain.
Germany is very much tied to Russia economically. A lot of imports and exports, oil and gas. One of the countries in Europe that gets its most of its energy from Russia, about 49%.
Yikes.
And so
you can't just go hardcore against Russia.
You can't go hardcore against Russia, which is one of the reasons why Europe isn't going to cut off Russia from the SWIFT network so that they can still make payments to Russia in euros for gas and oil. So the sanctions
the argument could be made, he's a genius.
He is. And if the Russians really wanted to, and the U.S. wouldn't put up a fight, they could blow through Germany. France would put up a fight, but the German military completely decimated.
Well, explain.
The last time I talked to my brother about this, he said that he had somebody.
By the way,
who was in the Air
Patrick's
Force.
German, so this isn't like anti-German. He's an actual German. Go ahead.
He has a friend who's in the Air Force, and out of all the Eurofighters, 30 of them, they've got like 100 and something jets. 30 of them are ready for active service. So what are you going to do with 30 jets against 1,000 Russian MiGs that are coming in? What are you going to do with 3,000 tanks of guaranteed which 75% aren't in working order?
Why did they allow that to happen? That was a Merkel thing?
Yes.
What was her reasoning?
She always relied on the U.S. for defense. She didn't want to spend, Germany never spent more than 1% of their GDP on military. They just rely on the U.S. because there's so many U.S. military bases. And so Germany is absolutely weak. And they should have built up their military.
Interesting. Next. Okay, this is important to know. U.S. biolabs in Ukraine. Exclusive U.S. biolabs in Ukraine, and they are financed at the expense of the U.S. Department of Defense. The laboratories are located in Odessa, then a lot of other cities that I'm not going to attempt to read, Crimea and Luhansk. I only know that one because they have a football team. 2 other possible locations, Kharkiv and Mykolaiv. So from Putin's standpoint, back to me, and then I'm going to have you pop that back up. Or no, you can just keep it like this. I read this morning. We all know, now I don't know if this is going to get me taken off of YouTube or not, but now that you know that the NIH in the United States financed the Wuhan lab, which was a biolab, and that's where the COVID came out of. Putin does not like that there's U.S.-financed biolabs that A, are either making bioweapons, or B, from the track record in Wuhan, can't be trusted to keep viruses. And, you know, and again, you have to look at it. You can't look at it like who cares about Russia? I'm an American. If you were an American and Russia was building biolabs on the Ontario-New York border, you would expect Biden to do something about it.
Yeah.
So look, it's not a few biolabs. Can you zoom in on the map? Or put it full screen? So where's Russia? There's the Russian Federation. Look, you got that purple one that's basically on the border. You got that other red one all the way to the right that's basically on the border. And Putin doesn't like that. He doesn't want United States-financed biolabs right next to him. Next. Oh, okay. So this was retweeted by a lot of credible accounts I follow, where this guy, war clandestine, is going to give information on why he believes Putin's doing what he's doing. First, I checked if the U.S. even have biolabs in Ukraine. Turns out we do, and in classic U.S. fashion, it's marketed as defense. Biological threat reduction program in Ukraine. Studying the most dangerous viruses in the world at Russia's border. Let's read. You know what? I'll skip the article. No, you know what? Let's read it. Sorry to be double-minded. The U.S. Department of Defense's Biological Threat Reduction Program collaborates with partner countries to counter the threat of outbreaks, deliberate, accidental, or natural, of the world's most dangerous infectious diseases. The program accomplishes its biothreat reduction mission through development of biorisk management culture, international research. Okay, so this is just from them. Current executive agents of the Biological Threat Reduction Program in Ukraine are the Ministry of Health, the State Service of Ukraine for Food and Safety and Consumer Protection, the National Academy of Agrarian Sciences, and the Ministry of Defense. I'm not going to read the rest. Your thoughts in seeing that?
I mean, if I was Putin, I would take those out too.
That's a threat.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a legitimate threat. Next, in the thread. Okay, so we are studying the world's most deadly pathogens at Russia's border. It's just for defense. Not that big of a deal, right? Wrong. I didn't know this until today, but Russia has been accusing the United States of creating bioweapons at their border. How many? 5? Let's read it. We'll read a little of it anyway. Russian President Vladimir Putin's chief security advisor said Moscow has good reason to believe the U.S. is developing biological weapons along the borders of Russia and China. I believe them. After the Wuhan thing, Nikolai Patrushev, who is the secretary of Russia's Security Council, made the comments during an interview. Well, I tried to sound out his name and actually turned into a Russian. With the newspaper Kommersant, in which journalist Elena Chernenko asked him about claims that China had deliberately caused the coronavirus pandemic. So they believe that over there too. Defending Beijing, Patrushev replied, I suggest that you look at how more and more biological laboratories under U.S. control are growing considerably in the world, and by a strange coincidence, mainly by the Russian and Chinese borders. That's true. Yeah. I mean, again, this is not Russian propaganda, but I'm also not a U.S. propagandist. Russia shared land borders with 16 countries, the most of any shares land borders with 16 countries, and that's about to go up. The most of any nation in the world. China shares frontiers. Boy, can you imagine that? Sharing borders with 16 countries? That's a nightmare. We have 2, and it's sticky. The most of any nation in the world. China shares frontiers with 14 countries, as well as the Special Administrative Region of Hong Kong. Patrushev did not name any specific countries, but said Americans can help local scientists develop new ways to fight dangerous diseases.
Frank Bartholomew just said that account you're reading from is suspended.
Interesting. Well, listen, if you've not downloaded our app, seeing as I'm reading from a suspended account, please flip over to our app as soon as you can. Revival Today, just search Revival Today. You have to subscribe, but it's free. It's not free for a trial. It's totally free. And it's on Roku, Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, and the App Store and Google Play. So I appreciate you watching on YouTube. I appreciate you watching on Facebook and Twitter. But as soon as possible, start watching on the app. And we got a lot of other great programming on there. We do a nightly news program. We check the markets and do check the news AM every morning as well. Continue. This is the Russian hierarchy continuing. We and our Chinese partners have questions. We are told that there are peaceful sanitary and epidemiological stations near our borders, but for some reason, they are more, and I guess that's more and more, reminiscent of Fort Detrick in Maryland, where Americans have been working in the field of military biology for decades, and a ton of people have got cancer and died. You know that around there?
Yeah.
See, they know what a lot of you know, that you're not allowed to put on social media and stuff about our country. So you live here and you're like, man, they shouldn't be doing that. But if you're another country and they start bringing it to your door, you're not going to put up with it. You put up with it when Trump's in office because he was like an actual man. But now you have a cadaver and a bunch of gender-neutral people that are more concerned about what pronouns you use. They don't know how to fight. So if there was ever a time where there was stuff that was going on that you don't like, that you want to do something about, from a Russian perspective, Chinese perspective, and anybody else's perspective, why would you not attack during these 4 years? Well, not even 4 years. While there's Democrat-controlled Senate and House as well. Because you're just a paralyzed country pretty much.
Yeah.
He added that the authorities in those jurisdictions had no real idea of what is happening within their walls and that there were outbreaks uncharacteristic for these regions in neighboring areas, although he did not specify any disease. When asked directly if he believed that the Americans are developing biological weapons, Patrushev said, "We have good reason to believe that this is exactly the case." A U.S. State Department spokesperson dismissed Patrushev's accusations as groundless, telling Newsweek in a statement that it was the latest in a long series of allegations about U.S. collaboration with foreign partners on public health matters. Now, I'm going to ask you in the comments, out of those two people, who do you believe? Me as an American, I believe the Russian, because they lied to me about Wuhan. Yeah. They said that it happened in a wet market, and then it all came out that it was a leak from a biolab. I don't believe our... I'm not trying to turn people against me. I don't believe our news media. I'm not saying I believe Russian news media in Russia, but I definitely don't believe United States news media and news sources. Am I the only one? Continue. Russia is making efforts to deflect attention from their own non-compliance, this is America speaking, as most recently seen with the poisoning of Russian opposition figure Alexei Navalny, New York, with an illegal chemical weapon, the statement said. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, that was in Great Britain. He was an ex-spy from the FSB, or some of the Soviet state securities, and he got poisoned with this Novichok agent in Great Britain, like on British soil. But they haven't really put a link to Russia. They haven't really There's some suspects, but they couldn't really tie it back, but everybody knows that.
Do they know how he was poisoned? Well, what they poisoned?
It was his doorknob, I think, or something like that. Yeah, it was something when he came back from a walk in the park, touched his doorknob and died, or something like that.
Wow. Remind me to have a Dallas open all doors for me. I'm not opening a door for anybody. I'm going to have someone else. Hey, can you open the door for me? It is Russia, not the United States, that has a record of non-compliance with both the Chemical Weapons Convention and the Biological Weapons Convention.
But Russia doesn't have labs in Mexico.
That's right.
They as horrible as that is, they murdered one of their spies, if they did, but there's no labs in Mexico.
No, and think of this, and I'm sure a lot of you already know this. We say that kind of stuff as Americans, like Russia hasn't complied with the Chemical Weapons Convention. Well, that's a convention we set up with our rules. They might not care, just like we might not care if we're complying with Pakistani standards on oil production. Who are we to tell other people how they operate? In the wide-ranging interview, well, it's a complex world, huh?
It is.
I can see why some people just smoke weed and play Xbox. Just let other people handle it. In the wide-ranging interview, Patrushev went on to reject accusations that Russia developed and used chemical weapons, including against the former spy Sergei Skripal and the Kremlin critic Navalny.
Oh, that's who I was talking
Okay,
about. Sergei
Sergei.
Skripal, not Navalny.
There is zero evidence, said Patrushev, who was formerly the director of Russia's Federal Security Service, FSB, that's what you said, only speculation. Patrushev also criticized President Joe Biden's affirmative response in an ABC interview last month when he was asked if Putin was a killer, comparing it to former British Prime Minister Winston Churchill's Fulton speech in March 1946, in which he declared our country an enemy. Continue? This marked the start of the Cold War, Patrushev said, adding that we would really not want any increase in hostilities. However, he also suggested that Biden's comment may not have been his fault because his brain doesn't work. It cannot be ruled out that the American president was deliberately provoked to such a statement. Wow, so they're actually de-escalating. Because he called Putin a murderer?
Yeah.
That was stupid.
He said it takes one to know one.
Is that what Putin said?
Yeah.
I'm sure Putin, and that, again, if you're just a blind USA cheerleader, then yeah, Putin's a murderer. How about Hillary Clinton? You know, good Lord. There's a massive pile of bodies that she is allegedly responsible for.
Yep.
Did you ever hear the Norm Macdonald line? When Clinton was accused of being uncreative as a president, and Norm Macdonald said, "That's not true," a spokesperson said. "There's certainly nothing uncreative about the way he moved Vince Foster's body." He was fired like the next week. It cannot be ruled. Meanwhile, the Kremlin did not expect an apology from the U.S. for the killer comment. As experience shows, Americans in principle are not able to admit their guilt under any circumstances, Patrushev said. I can tell you as a minister, he's generally correct. Despite his repeated criticism of the U.S. in the interview, which included taking swipes at its COVID response and the Black Lives Matter movement, Patrushev was... The more you read, the more it's hard not to want to emigrate there. Oh, you think our COVID response was lousy and you don't like the Black Lives Matter movement? Patrushev was still optimistic that Moscow could work with Washington, citing the deal to extend the New START nuclear arms treaty as an example of cooperation. Continue? Or is that the end? We believe that common sense will prevail in Washington. Well, that makes one of us. And a substantive Russian-American dialogue can start on issues that, in principle, cannot be effectively resolved without constructive interaction between our countries. The graphic below, provided by Statista, shows the tenure of Russian President Vladimir Putin. You have that or no? If you don't, it's okay. Oh, you have it. Good job. Vladimir Putin's terms as a prime minister. Dang, guy's been in power a long time.
Yeah.
How old was he when he took power? 40, 38?
He was in his late 30s, I believe.
It's hard to tell because he like always looked old.
Yeah.
He basically has looked this. If you look at pictures from when he took power to now, he looks exactly the same. All right, president. Okay, prime minister, president, prime minister, president. Who was president when he was prime minister the second time? That like 2010 stretch.
Dmitry Medvedev.
What happened to him? He's alive or dead?
He's alive. He was prime minister for a while, and he's some sort of advisor now.
Good. Our thoughts and prayers with his family. Next. And they have good reason to believe that, as the U.S. NIH funded gain of function in Wuhan. So thanks, Fauci. You may have started World War III. You didn't just screw up our lives for the last 2 years. This guy, freaking 3-foot Italian.
I don't care how many Dago, Guinea, what greaseball goombas come out of the woodwork.
Russia and China asked the UN. No problem. So apparently this is the South China Morning Post. We weren't able to pull the article for some reason. Russia and China asked the UN for the U.S. allies to be checked and limited in biocapabilities 4 months ago. So this has been brewing.
Yeah.
And they're right. We have been doing gain of function research, and we denied it through the whole pandemic, and then it turned out that's what was at the root of the C word. And I don't mean the CU word, I mean the CO word. Next. Oh, we have, that's 10:58, 7 minutes old. U.S. officials to VOA confirmed that Russia is actively making maneuvers in Ukraine's capital. That's right, maneuvers, but there's not fighting. If you had to guess, what's Zelensky going to do? Just get out?
Yeah, I think he's going to flee.
He's no fighter. He's a comedian.
Yeah.
He's an actual comedian.
He's not. I don't think the Ukrainian army's going to put up much of a fight either. If I was in the Ukraine and I saw the Russians coming, I would flee like that one fighter jet that flew to Romania. Did you see that?
No.
Ukrainian Sukhoi 27 fighter jet was intercepted in Romania, and one of the guys fled, just like they did in Afghanistan, with the Afghanistani Air Force.
Like pilots in the military just take their jet and use it as a way. They have like their family and groceries in the back. Keep your oxygen mask on, kids. We're going to hit Mach 3. Crazy. We can laugh about it because it's a global full-scale war. Next. Do you all know what this means? China and Russia indirectly and correctly blame the U.S. for the C-19 outbreak and are fearful that the U.S. allies have more viruses to let out. Back to me. Now, from a Russian perspective and slowly turning into from a me perspective, okay, they blame the U.S. for C-19 getting out of the lab that they funded, and they're fearful that there's going to be more weapons released. Well, you have Bill Gates talking about more ones being released.
Just a couple days ago.
Can you guys play the Soviet national anthem by the Red Army? All right, play it as soon as you can. The more I read, if this doesn't get us banned from YouTube, I don't know what will. It's a cool national anthem. I have no clue what they're saying, but it makes me feel full of pride in somebody else's country.
It's part of the great soundtrack.
30 seconds.
Part of the
All
great
right, let's play
soundtrack
another one
for
first.
Hunt of Red October.
So how does that pertain to Ukraine? Well, where in Ukraine are the explosions taking place? Here's a reported explosion in Lutsk. This is 75 miles inland in far western Ukraine. Well, that's not good. The opposite border of Russia. What does this have to do with Crimea? So he's going to make the point that they're blowing up bioweapons labs.
I see.
Roll it.
Чуєш, тільки що їбать. Це аеродром, походу. Це не аеродром, аеродром там. У нас тут пиздец.
Let me say it one more time. I didn't see much of an explosion.
Чуєш, тільки що їбать. Це аеродром, походу. Це не аеродром, аеродром там. У нас тут пиздец.
It definitely has the feel so far that they're going at, and anything can happen, but that they are going after bioweapons targets. Because it's not an assault like against there's not just like troops around blowing people away. You just hear about like strategic sites getting knocked. Now, a moment of silence. This part. Great song.
They could have left that part out.
Canada's got a great one. We have a great one. These are the top 3 national anthems, in my opinion. Of course, I've heard like 6. How's Germany?
It's not that good. And the first 2 verses are banned. They'll probably take us off of YouTube. Bear said my Russian guy just went into my room because he heard the song.
Another Russian messaged me because I've been playing this on my Instagram story.
Yeah.
That they used to play this on the radio every morning at 8 a.m. on all the stations.
South Africa is a really good one too.
Yeah?
Yeah, it sounds really good
too. Marco Pimento said Portugal's top too. I've never heard it. You guys would win a freaking medal every once in a while. I could hear it. The Chinese national anthem is just dogs barking and a wok frying. Did you know that? Anyway. Little long.
It is.
We should remix it. Take the Lennon parts out and get it to like 3.5 for radio.
Yeah, they won't take us off.
No. Uh-oh. Some of those lines are going pretty far. All kidding aside, think of this now. Like you watch that, that's what Putin's doing. You have a united Russian people. And then on the flip side, would you consider our people united? Like, let me ask you a question. If Russian troops, this is like far-fetched at the time, but I'm making a point. If Russian troops landed in Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, Washington, and San Francisco, and they want to espouse communism and tell you that, who would the young people of those cities side with? You think they're going to fight for America? They would like... There's a decent portion of our society that would love to see America fall, correct?
Yeah.
You're not going to have Antifa and all those people that have been rioting, Black Lives Matter, all of a sudden go, well, this country might have a lot of problems, but I'm going to fight. No. So you see that all this stuff to get us arguing and fighting weakens the nation. And you don't have that in Russia.
No.
What would happen, because you know this stuff more than me, in Russia, what would happen if we started a group of young people to start burning stuff down because of grievances we had with Russia?
They would stop.
Immediately.
They would.
Because it's not allowed.
No.
So it's not like we're pro, like no dissension, but a united people against a divided nation is not a good. Same with China. China, you're not allowed to go against the state, so you do not have factions breaking off in China. Whereas the United States, they've been able to sow discord through our universities where a younger generation hates the country. Hates it. Next. Back to me real quick. By the way, I know this is a very serious situation. I'm making jokes. What do you want me to do? You want me to cry for 3 hours about the state of the world? You know, I'm trying to give you a little breather from all the seriousness of the day. Continue. Reportedly, Kyiv has seen missile strikes as well at their airports and military installations. Kyiv is also on the western side of Ukraine, also a city the U.S. government have confirmed the U.S. have built biolabs in. Roll it. Yanks. Now that's a lot of shells. I will say this, which is a bit of a strong statement, but if anybody's watching me from the Russian military, if you're going to take one biolab out, take them all out. Those should have never, gain of function research, how to get animal viruses that we're immune to be able to attack humans.
Why? There's no reason.
Yeah. If you have a GoFundMe for the biolab shellings, let me know so I can pop in some stock. That still has value. If you can, in the media room, I got in the mood to hear Rocky's speech at the end of Rocky IV. So you might not be able to play the video because I think they'll take us down. But if you could, just play the audio. And again, when I play it, they might take us off YouTube. So if they do, I'll be back on, hopefully, unless they permanently take me. But if you've not gotten our app, please do that. Here's the app. So you need to watch there as soon as possible. The Revival Today app, download it in the App Store, Google Play. It's free, but you have to subscribe. And then I'm preaching some more in the summer. What else was I going to say? Oh, yeah, we have a new T-shirt. We feed 1,000. With all the joking around we do, we somehow managed to scrape up enough money to feed 1,500, mostly orphans, every morning. So if you help us with that, today, if you've enjoyed the coverage and would like to give, I'm going to send you this T-shirt as a way of saying thank you. Weekend at Biden's. Go to revivaltoday.com and click Give Now. And after you're done, make sure you go to the Claim Your Offer part of the website so it ensures we have your name and address. Weekend at Biden's. Close up. It's a great shirt. Love it. Okay, now, we may be going off the air, but I'm worth risking because I really want to hear this. So if we go off and you haven't got the app, it's on you. I gave you fair warning. Hopefully they'll leave us on. But I feel like this speech is very important right now. Roll it.
I came here tonight. I didn't know what to expect.
Когда я вышел этим вечером на этот ринг,
I seen a lot of people hating me, and I didn't know what to feel about that, so I guess I didn't like you much, none either.
Я думаю, что я не любил их тоже.
During this fight, I seen a lot of changing.
В течение всего этого боя я понял, что многое изменилось.
The way you felt about me and the way I felt about you.
И я почувствовал, что вы тоже изменились.
Just so you know, this marked the beginning of the end of the Cold War. If I was president, just like we sent Dennis Rodman as our ambassador to North Korea, we should send Sylvester Stallone as our envoy to Putin to give this exact speech and hope for this exact reaction that's coming. Continue.
In here, there were two guys killing each other. But I guess that's better than 20 million.
Я думаю, что это лучше, чем даже 20 миллионов долларов.
So what I was trying to say is,
if I can change,
that if I can change,
you can change.
Я думаю, что каждый тоже изменился сегодня.
And you can change.
Вы можете измениться.
Everybody can change.
Каждый может измениться.
I guess that's Gorbachev. Yeah. He's still alive, right?
That's probably who Biden thinks of NATO in Ukraine.
One thing to my kid who should be home sleeping. Merry Christmas, kid.
Счастливо тебе, Рождества! Я люблю тебя!
What a friggin' awesome time to be alive. The late 80s. We didn't realize it because we're on the brink of nuclear war, but everybody driving around in Ferraris, waking up with a breakfast of Cheerios and 5 lines of Coke. Next. Since I'm in kind of an 80s mood, can I get a Randy Savage Slim Jims commercial? Might be early 90s. All right, thanks. Next, we'll finish this thread. Hey, Pastor Mike, did you send me those steaks? Who sent me steaks from Allen Brothers to my house? That was the best filet mignon I've ever had in my life. I had it at about 1 in the morning last night. I'm eating like a Russian. I have 12 pounds of beef and then hit the sack. That was you. Thank you. Whoever sent me that, God bless you. Continue. Putin also continues to call it a special military operation, says he wants to demilitarize and denazify the country, but not occupy it. So what does he mean by that? What is he really targeting? Continue. Yes, I know he targeted airports and military capabilities, but if Putin really believes, as his administration has stated publicly multiple times, that the U.S. are creating bioweapons at Russia's borders, then this entire situation could be way bigger. Let me read that again. I know he targeted airports and military capabilities, but if Putin really believes, as his administration has stated publicly multiple times, that the U.S. are creating bioweapons at Russia's borders, then this entire situation could be way bigger. This is Business Insider. U.S. accuses Russia of spreading conspiracy about the Wuhan coronavirus. All right, let's read it, because here's where the accusations are going to be. But they, I don't know if I'd call them accusations as much as definitely happens. U.S. officials told AFP they discovered an online Russian disinformation campaign aimed at spreading conspiracy theories, blaming America for the coronavirus outbreak. A network of several thousand Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram accounts were discovered posting near identical messages in mid-January. By spreading disinformation about coronavirus, Russian malign actors are once again, I feel like that's not a correct sentence, are once again choosing to threaten public safety by distracting from the global health response, one official said. I don't know, man. Haven't they pretty much had to admit that it came from that lab?
Yeah. I mean, there's no other explanation.
U.S. officials say they have uncovered a Russian disinformation campaign spreading conspiracy theories about the coronavirus. Officials told Agence France Presse, I know I butchered that. You want to help me out?
Agence France?
What about the P word?
Presse?
All right. Say it all together. It sounds so
Agence
nice.
France Presse.
Oh,
That's
you would
how
know.
I'll pronounce
Matea?
it. Was that good?
All right. Well, me. Agents French Press. That thousands of fake Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram accounts have been found spreading theories that the U.S. is behind the outbreak of the COVID-19. I don't know if that's a theory. Continue. Boy, the YouTube monitors must be asleep at the wheel. Posts reportedly included claims that the virus was a bid to wage economic war on China, that it was a bioweapon engineered by the CIA, and that it was fostered to push anti-China messages. According to a report produced by the State Department's Global Engagement Center and seen by AFP, the campaign was spotted in mid-January with several thousand accounts, many of which were previously tied to Russian activities, posting near-identical messages about coronavirus. These accounts are thought to be maintained by human operators rather than bots and posted in a range of languages, including English, Spanish, Italian, German, and French. And they do it to sow discord in the countries, right?
Yeah.
Good thing we've never done anything like that. Nicaragua, Vietnam. The U.S. thinks the U.S. is targeted at making it harder to fight the spread of the virus, particularly in Africa and Asia. Yeah, read harder to get people vaccinated.
Exactly.
Continue. By spreading disinformation about coronavirus, same quote. What an awful article. Business Insider sucks, by the way. As of Sunday, the World Health Organization reported more than 78,800 cases. Oh, this is way back. A Twitter spokeswoman told Business Insider the company had not been alerted to the research prior to it being shared with the media. Facebook did not respond to Business Insider's request for comment because no one takes them seriously. Continue? Or is that it? I'm not sure what's going on in the past 4 months. Russia and China accused the U.S. of creating bioweapons at their borders, and none of us heard about, and all our media wrote it off as disinformation and largely didn't report on it other than to call it a conspiracy theory. That's true. That's the danger of just dismissing all this stuff. Continue? For all of this to make sense, you must be privy to the reality that United States NIH, that's Fauci, did indeed create COVID-19 and, well, if I say that, I think I'm gone, so. DICC19IW, which has been largely accepted as the reality and confirmed in the emails between Collins and Fauci. It is. Are you allowed to say that yet or not? I mean, it's not misinformation. But the gender-neutral, purple, crew-cutted he-she that's watching me on YouTube might disagree, so we'll find out. And if you are watching, we love you. Had a rough childhood or whatever. Next. We need a reporter to ask Biden administration or international reporters to ask their admins what they know about the U.S. biolabs in Ukraine. Continue.
That's why I got suspended, because of that hashtag. Guaranteed.
Say it in the mic.
That's probably why he got suspended, because of that hashtag, U.S. biolabs. I guarantee you that's
Trying
why.
to get that trending.
Yeah.
You're right. Still on YouTube. Here's an overlap of reported missile strike locations and the biolab locations since the top map was made. More missiles hit Louisville. Oh, this is only an hour from when they got it. Yeah, I've already put these up. No, put them up. It's all bioweapons.
Mm-hmm.
So, which one's the U.S. biolabs? Map of Russian missile strikes against Ukrainian targets. So it's military airports and biolabs.
Yeah.
Boy, this has really helped me understand this thing today. Because I just sent this all in and hadn't read it. You knew this already?
No.
Now it all makes sense.
Yeah, it does. There's no reason why somebody like Russia would just invade the Ukraine because they feel like it.
And it's not like a real invasion.
No.
And it's not even really a land thing. It's that makes sense. Put that last one up. Cause his tweet right before that. It certainly appears Putin is targeting the cities and locations with U.S. biolabs present. He is 100% going after the alleged bioweapons. Well, we solved the mystery. Macho Man?
Chips! Gotta have beef, gotta have spice, need a little excitement. Snap into a Slim Jim. Oh, yeah! I always like to keep my favorite snack handy. Need a little excitement? Snap into a Slim Jim. Oh, yeah! Getting very, very sleepy, Now snap out of it and snap into a beefy, spicy Slim Jim. Oh, yeah! I often ask what I like to snap best. Arms, legs. Oh, I like a beefy, spicy Slim
I don't think
Jim.
they'd let you body slam a woman on a commercial nowadays.
These commercials kept Russia
How many
out
high
of the
school boys
Ukraine.
does it take to change a light bulb?
Wanna light up your light? Yeah! Snap into a Slim Jim.
The 1980s, everybody, where everybody existed on Slim Jims, Mountain Dew, and cocaine.
Baby juice is nice.
I can't. It's hard to believe that commercial got pitched to a board full of like corporate people in past. We're gonna make it seem like if you snap into a Slim Jim, it blows the room up. All right, we could play every commercial if we have them in the queue. But that's enough. Next. All right, now here's what's not really getting reported on, but is very important. Taiwan defense minister says 9 Chinese Air Force planes entered its air defense zone today. Explain the repercussions and what's going on with that, Patrick. And I mean, I could use a refresher too. Go ahead.
Taiwan is much more important to the world than Ukraine. Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe, but Taiwan has a company called TSMC in it, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing. And it's one of the largest, it is the largest manufacturer of semiconductors. Now with semiconductors, if China attacks Taiwan, and the semiconductor industry goes down. It's already bad now. But then you can't have phones, you can't have cars, you can't have combine harvesters to bring in the harvest, you can't have tractors, you can't have... So if China invades Taiwan, from an economic standpoint, that is it's absolutely huge. It would be devastating to the globe, to trade. So that's, and they're watching, guaranteed, what the U.S. is going to do about the Ukraine, about Russia and the Ukraine. If they don't do anything, then this could be a very real possibility because they won't do anything about Taiwan.
And if they do something about Russia, now you're kind of committed there and can't.
Yeah.
NATO can't Taiwan's not even in NATO, right?
No.
So that would just be we'd be on our own.
Yeah.
Canada
In the
would send
Pacific.
11 people.
Japan might enter the war, South Korea.
It's amazing how the way it's set up right now. By the way, you're welcome for the greatest coverage on this war of anything you can watch. I was watching other coverage. This blows everything away. Just want to throw that out there. It's amazing how in the next week this could either go quiet,
yeah,
or it could escalate to a massive war.
Yeah.
If you had to guess right now, a week from now, where are we?
I think a week from now, the Ukraine thing dies down.
But the Taiwan thing heats up.
But the Taiwan thing heats
China's
up.
going for it.
China's going to go for it, but...
Because why?
Because they want to reunite their country.
So Taiwan is China's Ukraine.
Taiwan is China's Ukraine. When there was a war between the communists and the capitalists in China, all the capitalists fled to Taiwan and they established a nation in Taiwan. And the communists, they took over China. And so they've always wanted to combine China back together because when it was all capitalist, Taiwan was a part of China back in pre-World War II. But I don't know if the U.S. and its allies are going to let Taiwan fall as easily as they would Ukraine because of the semiconductors, because of the industry. They've really established themselves as somebody who they need.
And for those of you watching, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Patrick, what's going on, Ada? Everything okay? Yeah. All right, I just saw you lurking about. I thought something, and you're dressed in all black. Looked like you were doing some kind of ninja activity. Anytime you hear somebody, because you mentioned that we have an interest in Taiwan because of semiconductors and not Ukraine because we don't have any business with them. So it's not an overstatement to say anytime you hear people talking about their love for the people and this amount of civilian casualties is unacceptable, you're listening to bullcrap.
Yeah,
everything's money and supply chain.
Absolutely.
That's not an overstatement.
No.
Next. Pakistan Prime Minister, this is interesting to me, Imran Khan meets Russian President Putin in the Kremlin. And this was not long ago. Roll it. It's a heck of a throat clear. Yeah. Nice outfit. Where are you going after? A P.F. Chang's private room? Hey, I'm going to meet with the Prime Minister. Have you seen my nightclub black suit and black shirt? You taking him dancing? Oh, sorry, this is a diplomatic meeting? Thought we were going to cruise the clubs. So Pakistan's on Russia's side.
That would make me nervous if I was India.
Yeah, because that Pakistan's your buffer between Russia?
Yeah, well, I think there's some stands in between there. Afghanistan, yeah.
Next. Maybe Germany can stop letting its energy policy be dictated by a Swedish teenager now.
That would be great. They shut down all their nuclear reactors too. They need gas. If they don't get gas, they have no energy. Because they refuse, ever since Fukushima, since that tsunami, they shut down all nuclear reactors. And they're buying energy from the French. They're buying electricity from the French because they've added nuclear reactors.
And there's no need for Germany to be in that situation if they had a proper leadership, right?
Exactly.
If you were the Chancellor of Germany, and you could shape the policy, what would you do for Germany's energy policy?
I would turn back the nuclear energy, and then that would solve all the gas issues right there. You would only need it for heating in the winters, and then just, see if you can get it somewhere else to make it more energy independent from Russia.
Next. Taiwan, Taiwan Defense Ministry says 9 Chinese military aircraft entered its air defense identification zone. Not good. Next. President Trump, so this happened last night, pretty interesting. This might get us booted. President Trump calls into Fox News as Putin announces special military operation in Ukraine. This would not have happened during my administration. It didn't for a very good reason, and I'll explain that to you someday. Well, you might want to make that day soon as you're edging up on 80 years old. You're not 23. Roll it.
Now, President Trump, thank you for joining us tonight via telephone. You're watching this unfold. Your reaction to Putin's threat if any Western nation or any nation intervenes with this Russian military action?
Well, this is something that should have never happened. This would not have happened during my administration. In fact, some people were saying, why didn't this take place over the last 4 years during our administration? And it didn't for a very good reason, and I'll explain that to you someday. But it wouldn't have taken place, and it wouldn't have taken place right now. And it's a very sad thing for the world, for the country, and it's certainly very sad for a lot of people that are going to be needlessly killed.
Well, give us a sense, though. I mean, you know Vladimir Putin. I mean, you've dealt with him. How would you have avoided this conflict? How would you have prevented these series of events from unfolding?
Well, look, I do know him, and I know him very well. We've had many times together. I got along with him fantastically. Despite the fact that I shut down Nord Stream 2, nobody would have heard of Nord Stream 2 if it weren't for me. I'm the one that shut it down.
Pause.
And I'm the one that told Angela.
What is Nord Stream 2 and why did he shut it down?
Nord Stream 2 is the pipeline that would have supplied. It goes around, so it goes through the North Sea and the Baltic Sea instead of going through Ukraine and Poland into Germany.
Okay, and he shut it down why?
I'm not sure why Trump shut it. It was never shut down. They always built it. They were always building it, and
so
Germany was
maybe
always
like
intending
wouldn't
on
allow
using
him to turn it on?
Yeah, something like that. Would have taken. That's right. He was threatening Germany with like withdrawing troops or something like that. Something along those lines, if I can remember that.
Continue.
You're doing a terrible thing by doing this. And they were going to get 75%, not 30%, 75% of their energy from Nord Stream 2. It was ridiculous. If you remember, I told you this privately once. I sent them a white flag, a flag of surrender. I gave it to, she said, what does this mean? I said, that means you'll surrender as far as Russia's concerned. They've had a lot of conflicts over the centuries. So I think that it's a terrible thing. The way it started, I really don't believe he wanted to do this initially. I think he wanted to do something and negotiate, and it just got worse and worse. And then he saw the weakness. And, it really started, I think, with the weakness in Afghanistan, the way they pulled out of Afghanistan. I really believe that's where he started thinking, he can do this. Because when he saw how pathetic.
There's more, but I can't find the full interview. So if you guys in the control room can find the full call with Trump on Laura Ingraham, I'd love to play it. Next. A map of all currently reported Russian attacks on Ukraine. That's old, from midnight. Next. And we've covered that. I, for one, our old friend, Savannah Hernandez. I, for one, am shocked that China and Russia are taking advantage of the U.S. having a weak and pathetic leader who can't even read off a teleprompter. That heavily factors into this, correct?
Yeah.
Next. Don't worry, NATO's got this. Here's from NATO. Diversity is our strength. Retweet to join us in celebrating the differences that... it's like a joke, but it's not a joke. Roll it.
At NATO, Diversity
is our strength. Nous parlons une multitude de langues.
Nous possédons des talents différents.
Our own unique personalities.
Pause, back to me. Now, if you're Putin, and this is what's stopping you from achieving your objectives, freaking vineyard worship team, can you blame the guy? Continue. It's like you're asking to be attacked. Oy. AOC's uglier sister.
We come from all over the world, from every walk of life.
No two of us
are the same.
We
That's
work
the German military.
together.
respect our needs.
Embrace our differences.
Pause. Nice to see you. AOC's bigger toothed sister. Never seen a lady eat an apple whole before. Respect our needs. You're a military force. Your job is to kill other people, and before they kill you. This is it is like a supernatural stupidity.
Yeah.
It's not Cintas. It's NATO.
Yeah.
Roll it.
Because we all have one thing in common.
No, we don't.
Are NATO.
Boy. Sorry you ran out of estrogen. Oh my lord. It's not even on the good video.
No.
With the copyright-free music, the way too long ending. Oy. Now, if I'm watching that with a cigar as Putin, and this is my general, you want to take it or you want me to do it?
For real.
I could clean that room out while texting. You don't even need guns.
Rough. No.
Just kick. Just call him a wrong pronoun. Hey, guy. It's not guy, it's they. I'm literally shaking. Next. For those trading today, circuit breakers may happen. A breakdown. Minus 7% shut trading for 15 minutes. Minus 13% shut trading for 15 minutes. If it drops 20%, you close the exchange, which you saw the Russian market drop 43%.
Yeah. They disallowed short selling.
Today?
Yeah.
Russia?
Russia.
Now, since you're a market expert, even more than a political expert, which you've done a great job in the politics, kind of odd, the last I looked, that our market really hasn't gotten hammered. Waiting for it to load. I may be dead wrong. No.
I got some tweets that cryptocurrency was up too again. Yeah, it's not that bad.
No. UPro's only down 3 something percent, which means the S&P's down like 1%. So why? Why isn't the S&P down like 9%?
The market usually knows things better than, so if they say one thing in the media like full invasion of Russia and the market isn't on the same level as that, then it tells you that it's not a full invasion. It's precision strikes.
When you say the market knows, is that because like JP Morgan and powerful brokers, like they have like actual intelligence that rivals our governments?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, continue. I didn't mean to cut you off.
So no, that's the reason why. I mean, the Nasdaq's only down 52 points, which means tech is
Which is like a great day for the Nasdaq recently.
So.
Yeah. I was like only invested in the Nasdaq last year. I'm actually staying on a futon in my mom's house. So I thought the market was going to get destroyed, and it's not. Even my account hasn't been destroyed. This is actually like an up day for me. Next. Watch the Ukraine. Okay. This is a YouTube channel that is just a live stream of a webcam in Odessa. So when you watch it, of course, I haven't had it on in 2 hours because I've been doing this, but like you watched it this morning, it was like a normal day. There was traffic.
Yeah.
So let's get an update. Here's Odessa and the Ukraine on a webcam. Dang, it's night there already. That doesn't look like a war.
No. And Odessa is real close to Crimea, where Russia has a ton of troops.
So yeah, so if there was problems, you would...
Yeah, if there was tanks rolling, you'd see them.
You can keep me and Patrick up on the side. So the streets aren't busy. People are staying home.
Yeah.
There's no fires. Did I give you some other webcam channels of their cities? There's other ones you can check under that account if you have that tweet. And I'd be interested if you can get it. I'd love to see what else is going on. Here's one. So here's European Square in Kyiv. This is from the ever reliable Bad Kitty for Congress. but it's an actual. Okay. When you pull it up, just put it up. Next. All right. This was sent to me by our friend Jason. Gulf of Tonkin incident, 1964. U.S. intervention in the Gulf, 1991. Iraq war. And start of occupation in Crimea. And it's captioned by the invasion. So let's talk markets for a little bit. Your thoughts from now going forward.
It's now going to be factored in. So even if Russia sends tanks in, it might go down a little bit more, but it won't go down much more.
Because they factored in
because it's
this
factored
already.
In. It's now factored in. So now the invasion is old news. So the only thing that would bring it back down is if China made a move on Taiwan, which would be even worse, because that'll rattle global markets more than Ukraine.
Because Ukraine, and we're not knocking Ukraine, but they're not like a major economic world power.
No.
Whereas Taiwan, because of semiconductors, is. I didn't know that TSM's the largest, more than NVIDIA.
Yeah.
Who's second to TSM?
I'm not sure. Samsung might be in Korea.
Wow.
They're huge. And then the Chinese, different Chinese ones.
So Taiwan, for its size, has one of the, like, if you were going to do like strength of economy from a nation for landmass, it would be up there high.
Huge.
Like Israel high.
They have a whole city built around TSM. That
like we have the Google city.
Yeah, that educates people in semiconductors, the labs for semiconductors to make them better. It's like a whole city built around that TSM.
Next. Russian airborne troops are now at the, this is old, it's not old. No, it's old. Russian airborne troops are at the Antonov airport, which is only 15 miles outside of Kyiv, but they just took it. There was you have a camera reporting. We already played the video. Next. All right, so here, this is European Square in Kyiv. I mean.
Yeah. There were lines. I saw pictures of like lines of vehicles fleeing at one point.
Oh, fleeing.
Yeah, it was like backed up out of Kyiv. Might have just been all the diplomats.
Anybody else besides me that's watching, when you heard there's like that Russia's invaded Ukraine and doing a full-on assault, you wouldn't really expect the city to look like this. There's not any smoking buildings. That's why the Biolab thing. What are your thoughts on the Biolab thing? You buy that story?
I do, yeah.
I totally buy it. It makes sense how they're attacking, where they're attacking, and why they're attacking. I learned something today. That's why I like doing these programs. And this was always originally, like almost everything else I've done, launched to benefit me. Because it was just a way to like talk things out. And because I wanted to understand the C word when it was happening.
Yeah.
So I'd have people on to review information I had, and then this did that for me today. I feel like I have like a good grasp on this now. Next. America and our allies need to find a way to be independent from Russian energy and Chinese manufacturing.
That's right.
Thoughts?
Absolutely.
How dependent are we on those things?
Very. I mean, just the trade deficit between China and the U.S. It might be between all countries in the U.S. There's $1 trillion trade deficit that the U.S. has. So they're buying $1 trillion more in goods than they're exporting. The U.S. should be an export powerhouse.
Guys, don't delete that thread about the biolabs, because that Twitter account got taken down, and I'd like to show it again. And we'd have no way to get it. Next. Oh, that's it. No more breaking news? Eight minutes ago, just in, Putin claims he was forced into Ukraine invasion, says Russia remains part of the global economy and countries should not push them out of the system. Well, that's kind of a bad... So they may have wanted to just blow the bioweapons labs out and
that's it.
And maybe not even take the country, huh?
Yeah.
That's quite a statement, because he has been forthcoming.
Yeah.
You know, no one should interfere with what we're doing right now, or you'll feel the full force of the Russian military. How do you go from that to, we want to be a part of the global economy, so let's everybody
He's
pump the
backing
brakes.
down. But the Europeans will be relieved. They'll be like, okay, good, so he's not going into Europe, so let's negotiate with him now that he showed his might.
Interesting. So me and Pastor Rodney felt like this would not turn into a war. I felt like I may have completely done a swing and a miss on that last night, but then it looks like it is some minor skirmishes. And again, obviously if you lost somebody in the skirmish, it's not minor to you, but I'm talking about what could have been.
Yeah.
where you're, World War III. And there's a lot to be decided, because he could back up and then make another run when people relax.
Yeah.
So you don't know. And you do know from this little brown book I have that has some intelligence in it that it is all going to go down. But I just felt like we're going to get a window to preach the gospel first. Any more breaking news? So it looks like this one's kind of dying out. It might be over, huh? Like pretty much over? You couldn't make that statement and still make moves to further take Belarus and Poland.
No, but Belarus is an ally of Russia.
Right. Are they in NATO or not?
No.
So that could happen without incident.
Yeah.
Belarus would let them have it, right?
They would. They basically already have it.
But you're not going to make that statement that you still want to be a part of the global economy and then go take Poland.
No.
Interesting. Let's get some comments. What percentage chance do you think that this thing is essentially over right now?
Nothing is over! Nothing!
All right, that's a quote from a Ukrainian general. Not over yet. 60% that it's over. What percentage chance do you think that it's essentially over after that statement from Putin? For the short term, I'm talking.
For the short term, I'd say about 70%.
And the markets seem to feel that way.
Yeah.
Which is a great indicator. Because even those charts, can you put that chart back up that my friend Jason sent me? It's just the picture. It is interesting that the markets did precipitate all the attacks and then knew when the worst of it was over.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was always a dip right before, other than Gulf of Tonkin, which we didn't have the way to get information in 1964. But all the 90s and up, they saw it coming, right?
Yeah.
I'm seeing if there's any news I've missed. You can go back to me, seeing what people have sent me. They are going to put a government in the Ukraine allied to Moscow. I don't mean they're done like this and Ukraine can go back to normal. There will be. Zelensky's done.
Yeah, they have to. But this is, I mean, you could have seen this coming. If you're basically having the West have some little guy punch some big guy on the playground and then not expect retaliation.
Right. And
they're using the Ukraine, which is horrible.
And encouraging the little guy to punch the big guy
Yeah.
like you're going to back him and be like, hey,
Exactly.
you got yourself into this.
Yep.
Well, wicked, huh?
There was a guy from Germany who said that the German government just released a press release that they're not going to be sending weapons to the Ukraine. So...
Germany's not gonna help.
No.
No, Germany's got stronger ties with Russia.
So all the talk about sanctions is not gonna come to anything.
Can you play that Alex Jones clip again?